poop noise.
Gross.
Hello and welcome to the Aftershow, everybody. Thank you again for your support of our Patreon, patreon.com/P1 podcast. Thank you very much. Or if you're one of the bums listening on a 2-year delay.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe you'll
How dare you, sir?
Consider going to our Patreon?
Not now.
Well, not anymore,
really.
I guess.
Unnecessarily hostile.
Well, thank you for being here, no matter how you got here.
CJ would make a terrible Canadian.
Tonight, we have for you a Jeopardy quiz sent in by hacker alias Keenad, and they have emailed us a letter here, which I will read right now.
Please.
Long-time listener, first-time quiz maker here. After the countless EGM review quizzes, it's time to test the knowledge you guys have taken away from the early years of EGM. Researching this quiz showed me that Ed is the most interesting aspect of the mag from those days, as he was the one handing out tens and going to bat for weird and mediocre games. That wasn't actually Ed, so probably.
Well, that for some trivia.
Hopefully this strikes a nice balance between fun and challenging. I think you'll do well. Cheers. What was it? Is there a... Did Frank Cifaldi do a interview with Ed Semrad fairly recently? I think he did, but I haven't.
I think so. I know.
Yes, he was in his basement and going through all his
I don't know if that's a video or an audio thing. I haven't listened to it yet, though.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to listen to it. You think Ed is?
CJ, I love it when CJ is picking his words super carefully.
Oh yeah, my words here. He was not a very good boss.
No, he was not.
Let's say.
No, he was not.
But I really do wonder sort of what that experience was like, because he came from newspapers, right? He was writing video game columns from newspapers. And
a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, suddenly to be put in as an editor of a magazine run by basically high school students.
Oh, yeah.
Has to be a very strange sort of sudden change in your career trajectory.
Oh, yeah.
And, I wonder like how he feels about those days, because, I think, Phil, you also never saw him touch a controller while we worked there. Never saw him play a game. And
but I wonder, because you guys have talked about that before, and I'm really curious to know if that's just because at that point he wasn't doing that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Because I remember seeing his names on high score tables.
Right. So it might have been. It might have been
in the games at some point.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But I just wonder what that whole evolution was. He burnt out? Like, was it weird to be way older than any of the people?
I'm sure I told this story before, but when I went in for my interview, when I was trying to get hired there, and I was in Ed's office, and his office was just littered with stacks of Famitsu magazines, which I was amazed by. And he had a Bust a Move Puzzle Bobble arcade machine in his office, which I was just like, this is the coolest thing in the world to have an arcade machine in your office. And I mentioned it. I was just like, oh, that's great. You just turn this on and just play a few rounds whenever you want. And he's just like, oh, I never even turned that on. I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was different for me because I got hired on at EGM while Ed was out on vacation. So he didn't even interview me. Suddenly I was working there.
Which is so weird that they would just hire someone without the editor-in-chief knowing.
I know.
Or even meeting.
I know, right? And I mean, I don't think Ed liked me. Period.
I mean, to be fair, not many people
who wouldn't
do.
like you.
Not many
who wouldn't
people
like you?
liked
You're
me.
such a nice
I
boy.
know.
I know, right? I don't think a lot of the staff liked me either, but because I didn't have a desk.
Hey, neither
other
did
people's
That's how
desks.
CJ and I bonded early on. We were the
people who didn't have workspaces.
exactly.
Did we even have an optical disc?
The zip
Because
discs
actually,
you guys had to
when I
carry
worked
around
there
or
with
whatever?
you, that was the second time. I was returning
Right.
to EGM,
Yeah, you had returned.
but I also didn't have a desk prior to that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, I did have an optical disc that I had to use to shuttle my articles around to various computers.
but then sometimes those optical discs would get corrupted and you'd be fucked.
Yeah, my optical disc did get corrupted at some point. I had just finished writing an article, dumped it to the disc, and I was walking it over to like the layout people. And sometime during that like 50-foot walk, it corrupted because they suddenly couldn't load it, and I had to rewrite the entire article.
Yeah. And that sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
That kind of thing sucked. That happened frequently.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Keenad also says, hopefully this strikes a nice balance between fun and challenging. I think you'll do well. Cheers.
So just want to call out. So Keenad is one of the regular viewers on my Twitch channel.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an encyclopedic knowledge of early EGM.
Uh-oh.
Like a game will come up in conversation and he can rattle off the score.
Oh, wow.
Holy crap. All right.
It's a little bit frightening.
This is going to get tough then.
Yeah.
Probably.
But yeah, and then I think we've said this on the after show before, like at least some of Ed's writing was done by Andy Barron. During the mid 90s. I don't know at what point that started happening, but it definitely happened.
Yeah.
Because you'd read things in Ed reviews like that he was playing D&D or some obscure thing, and that was not Ed Samrad.
Yeah, that wasn't Ed Samrad.
I was sitting in my trigonometry class the other day.
Jesus.
It wasn't that blatant.
No.
But yeah.
It's too funny.
All right. So this is a test of your early EGM knowledge. Should we do one team or should we divide it up?
Do one team.
Let's do one team.
One team. All right. What are we going to call ourselves? The review crew?
The insect politicians.
I like the review. What?
I like
There's some old school EGM reference.
Insect politics.
Which I never got.
I never got that either.
I don't know
who even did that.
I don't know. I don't know what that referred to.
Is that a Crispin Boyer thing?
No.
No, it was
before him.
It was prior to Crispin.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely an older. Yeah, they would just. Well, something is happening in video games. Oh, it's insect politics.
Yeah.
It must have been some inside joke that they never bothered to explain.
Yeah, which happened a lot in video game magazines. In the 90s. All right, so the categories here are big games never reviewed, weird Ed reviews, in quotes, Ed.
Yeah.
Major Mike treatment, EGM oddities, right? And early 10s. Mike Weigand, yes, who later went over to GamePro.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Mike Weigand.
Oh yeah, he was Major Mike there, right?
Yeah. That's right. And then if you read any of the separate EGM things like Mega Play or the Super NES Buyers Guide or Super Play, maybe was it called?
Super Play was the import one.
Oh, okay.
There was a Super Nintendo magazine that they did maybe a few issues of too.
Right.
But him, Mike Weigand and Chris Nicolella were like the editors of those two magazines. And basically they had to like do deals with other EGM editors to get them to do additional maps or content for the games that were already covered. And those two like did those separate issues like basically by themselves.
Oh jeez.
God.
So yeah. So I'm a big fan of both those guys. They were awesome. Just great people too. All right. We're going to go in what you've been playing orders. So I guess that means Phil.
Oh, here we are.
There you're second.
I'm second.
Yep.
And
there it is.
Greg, you're third.
All right.
we starting?
Let's start things off. I want to see some early 10s for 100.
Oh,
The first game. Oh, see, I knew this was going to be one of them. The first game to score a 10, along with Ninja Spirit in the same issue, was this TurboGrafx CD game that includes Academy Award nominee Thomas Hayden Church in its voice
We
cast.
were just talking about this.
It's Ease 1 and 2. Ease Book 1 and 2.
Ease Book 1 and 2 is correct.
Yeah.
We're 100 points.
I remembered that was the first 10 game.
All right, let's do big games never reviewed for 100. This Nintendo platformer received EGM's SNES Game of the Year in 1995, yet wasn't reviewed in the magazine despite being a sequel to inarguably the biggest franchise of all time.
Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, this is Yoshi's Island.
Really?
Yep.
I believe
It
so.
was never reviewed?
Nope.
Yoshi's Island is right. That's crazy.
200 points.
How did that never get reviewed?
So we'll probably see this in a lot of the major Mike Roundup stuff too. We talk about this on my Twitch channel a lot. Like mid 90s EGM when they had, well, what? I mean, you had had Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Jaguar, 3DO, CDI, Saturn was happening, PlayStation was happening. There were like 7 to 10 systems to cover.
Oh, shit.
So we talk a lot about, I would love to be a fly on the wall whenever discussions took place to figure out what to cover, because there were some big games that got like major Mike treatment or just like Yoshi's Island that just weren't reviewed. So yeah, Yoshi's Island.
Wild.
Yeah. Let's do the major Mike treatment for 100.
Okay.
This seminal strategy RPG was one of many big Genesis games to get the major Mike Roundup treatment in 1994. Strategy RPG.
Was it Shining in the Darkness?
I bet you it's no, Shining in the Darkness was not a strategy RPG.
Oh, that's right. It was more of a dungeon crawler, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But Shining, it's probably one of the Shining Forces. 1994. That'd be Shining Force 2. I think it's Shining Force 2.
I think Shining Force 2 is right.
Yeah.
Shining Force 2.
Shining Force 2. See, again, Shining Force 2.
Yep.
Major Sega release.
Yep.
Yeah.
In 1994.
RPGs were not big then, though.
Yeah.
RPGs were not big at that point, though.
We haven't really described what the major Mike treatment was, right?
That's true. Maybe
We should probably mention what that is.
Yeah. So it was along the left and right borders of the review crew pages. They'd be little, 100-word blurbs?
Yeah, very small.
With 5 scores each, which was even more confusing because it had review crew scores plus Mike's score.
Yeah.
And that was it. So you got like a very, very short summary of the game and 5 scores.
Yeah.
No screenshot, nothing.
No. And I can bet you that most of those games were never touched by an entire review crew.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but
again, they had like 10 systems to review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're at 300 points.
Okay. Let's do EGM oddities for 100. This 1994 SNES cart is now considered one of the best games of all time. But when readers first turned to EGM for a review, they were greeted with a spoiler in the form of a picture of the game's iconic end boss.
Is it Chrono Cross? Or Chrono Trigger? Or is it Earth
Super Metroid?
I think it is Super Metroid, because I think they used the giant Mother Brain and the giant Metroid.
Yeah, I think
they did. Super Metroid.
Metroid.
400 points.
Boom. All right, let's do weird Ed reviews for 100. Ed liked the scatological humor of this platformer so much, he demanded a spin-off for the game's first boss, Hick Boy. After playing a few times, I found out you could dig and pick zits, said Ed, adding, there are lots of things to keep you playing.
So it's got to be Booger Man, isn't it?
It's got to be Booger Man.
Booger Man. Boogerman is right.
Yeah.
500 points. All right, let's do some more Major Mike for 200. One of the few good mascot games in the early 90s, this Konami platform action game starred a jetpack wielding possum. That is, of course,
Rocket Knight.
Sparkster. Yeah, Rocket Knight.
Rocket Knight Adventures.
Rocket Knight Adventures was the first one.
Rocket Knight Adventures.
Major Mike treatment.
Small review. Yeah.
By the way, as you go through this, you start to see there were a lot of Sega games that ended up in the Major Mike. As a Sega fan, another reason I was reading Game Fan at the time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because over at Game Fan, Rocket Knight probably got a 2 or 3 page spread.
Oh, yeah.
With a ton of screenshots.
Certainly.
Treatment. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Anyway, we're at 700 points.
Let's do another early 10s for 2. A month after handing out the first 10s ever, EGM gave this Genesis racer 2 10s and a pair of 9s. Ed was particularly enthusiastic, starting his review with, quote, "I like racing games."
Oh my God.
Unquote. Now this is
Monaco
Super
GP?
Monaco GP, the first one, right?
Well, what was the previous game? The first 10? That was
Ease.
Ease. Yeah, this would be a Super Monaco GP, the first one.
Okay.
Super Monaco GP. Boom.
900 points.
All right. Is back to me?
Back to you.
Yes.
Okay. EGM oddities for 2. The review crew was baffled by this innovative Genesis strategy game, with one reviewer saying it is, quote, only for diehard gamers who want strategy in their shooters.
That'd be Herzog Zwei, right?
Herzog Zwei. It's got to be, right? Herzog Zwei.
Boy, people just didn't know what to think of that game.
Yeah.
We're at 1,100 points. Let's do big games never reviewed for 200. This quirky RPG was received with a shrug and complaints that it was too weird and kiddie. Now it is one of the most sought after Super Nintendo carts. That's Earthbound.
Earthbound. Yeah. Earthbound is correct. I never understood why they didn't like or they didn't like that game.
Too kiddie looking.
It was. Yeah.
To be fair, it's a weird looking game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We're back to me now, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do another early 10 for 3. Ed was once again generous to this insanely hyped mascot sequel. The franchise would be one of the few IPs on Sega Genesis to routinely score 10s.
That has to be Sonic 2 then,
Sonic
right?
2?
Yeah, I would imagine it is.
Has to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It is.
Yep.
Sonic 2.
1,600 points.
All right, let's do EGM oddities for 3. This now revered Game Boy puzzle game baffled the EGM crew, with all 4 reviewers giving mediocre scores and complaints about needing math skills to play. Is this Picross?
Is it Picross? Mario's Picross?
Yeah,
I'm pretty
probably
sure
Mario's
it is.
Picross.
Mario's
It certainly was a
Picross.
game people didn't understand.
That's very true. Mario's Picross is right.
1,900 points. Well, I'm going to go back to the 200s. Weird Ed reviews for 200. Ed went to bat for this Super Nintendo edutainment game, noting the younger audience will like the blank characters and theme music, while parents enjoy the geography their kids will learn.
We got to be Mario is missing, right?
Mario's missing.
Yeah, I think it's Mario's missing.
Mario's missing is correct.
2,100 points.
All right.
Boom.
Okay, let's do another big game never reviewed for 3. This SNES launch window game showed off impressive rotation and scaling effects, along with a, quote, limp whip.
Super Castlevania 4.
Super Castlevania 4.
Yeah, never reviewed.
That's crazy.
Right?
That is crazy.
It's Castlevania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2,400
When
points.
when Konami first revealed Symphony of the Night, Ed CJ's laughing. He knows where this story's going. Ed was insistent that when we mentioned that game on the cover, and he even wanted it in the magazine too, he wanted us to call it Castlevania 5.
Yep.
because more people would pick up the magazine if they saw Castlevania 5 on the cover as opposed to seeing Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
That's the point where you figure out that you're kind of out of touch with your audience.
Yeah, and we tried explaining to him that that's not the name of the game, and he did not care.
Yeah,
no, he did not.
And what was the Sega fighting game that he wanted to call a Virtual Fighter game? It was like
either Fighters Megamix or Fighting Vipers.
I think it was Fighting Vipers. Where he was like, let's just call that Virtual Fighter 5 on the cover, and it's just like, but Ed, it's not.
That's not the title of the game.
It's a Sega fighting game. It's 3D. It's a Virtual Fighter. Just put it on the cover. It doesn't matter what it's actually called. You're doing a bang up job, Ed. Thanks.
Oh.
Anyway.
Whose turn is it? Is it CJ's?
CJ's.
It's fine. Let's do EGM oddities for 4. This section ran in issues 69 to 99 and delegated sports and racing game reviews to reviewers such as Video Cowboy and The Iceman. The Iceman was Mark Buffet.
What was that section called?
Team EGM.
Yeah.
Team EGM. Which we still use that term years later, but it wasn't its own section.
Yeah. Team EGM is right.
That's right.
Yep.
2,800 points. All right. Major Mike treatment for 300. There's a game I want to see show up here. The first game in this popular RPG series was published by Square in an attempt to build off the success of Final Fantasy. Its sequels would get the full review treatment. Square.
Was this like a Secret of Mana or something? That's
what I'm thinking. The first game is published by Square. No, wait a minute. No. This is probably Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire is
Square. That's a Capcom game.
But I think Square brought out the first one, didn't it?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but
build off the success of Final Fantasy. Secret of Mana or Chrono Trigger?
But those are but they're Square games. I mean, who else was going to publish those?
Oh.
That's how I'm reading it.
Okay. You want to say Breath of Fire then?
I mean, unless it's like Super Mario RPG, but I can't see them not giving that a full review.
Oh, shit.
Wait, did Square publish that though?
I don't remember. No, I think they just developed it. I don't think they.
Yeah.
I think it's Breath of Fire. That's the one that's stuck in my mind. But if you guys have a different answer, pretty sure they published the first Breath of Fire.
That might be right.
Okay.
Let's say Breath of Fire.
Sure.
Breath of Fire.
Yeah. Look at that.
3,100 points.
Greg's our hero.
It is a Capcom game, though.
It is a Capcom game, yeah. But I remember those. I remember the ads for the cover that was like the comic book style cover, and I remember there being a Square logo on it.
All right. Okay. Good on you, Greg. Let's do Weird Ed reviews for 3. Ed went nuts for this SNES food mascot beat 'em up, calling out great animations, especially the guitar playing, along with a decent quest and a lot of different levels. Keep this game rocking. The cool spot?
Is cool spot a beat 'em up?
Well,
SNES food mascot beat 'em up.
I can't think of anything else, but
especially the guitar playing. I'm trying to think what other food games there were. There was Chester Cheetah.
Yeah.
You had Cool Spot.
I would think Chester Cheetah would be more.
You think so?
Likely to play a guitar than Cool Spot.
But then the question is, which Chester Cheetah game? Because there were multiple Chester Cheetah games.
Goes to Hollywood? Is that no? That Spot goes.
That
to
was
Hollywood.
Spot.
Damn it. It's not easy being cheesy.
I don't know.
No, that's his.
That was actually his.
catchphrase.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Chester Cheetah, though, right? We get points for that.
I don't know.
I mean, it might be Cool Spot. I don't know. I didn't play either of those games.
Yeah.
Too Cool to Fool. That was a Chester Cheetah game.
Too Cool to Fool. You're
right.
Let's say that. Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool.
Okay.
It's a Cool Spot. Oh my God.
Chester Cheetah, Too Cool.
Look at us.
Congratulations, everybody. We did it.
You did it.
Wow. Ed Semrad seemed to really enjoy that Chester Cheetah game.
We're 3,400 points.
I hope that's what him and Frank Zavaldi talked about.
Nice. I'm sure that's exactly what they discussed.
Tell me more about your love of Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool.
My turn?
Yep.
Okay. We're at 3,400 points. Let's do Major Mike treatment for 400. This treasure of a Genesis game features some of the best parallax scrolling of the 16-bit era, not to mention absolutely bizarre bosses' soundstage levels.
And soundstage levels?
I guess that's what that is.
Is Dynamite Heady?
Oh, shit. Dynamite Heady.
Yes, it is Dynamite Heady. You're right. Soundstage. Yeah. That's what gives that away.
Dynamite Heady is correct.
Yep.
3,800. I don't think we can lose at this point, right? Nope.
No.
We can't. 3,800 points.
Are we back to me?
We're back to you.
Oh. Early 10s for 4.
We may have messed up the order.
It was Mike Wagon, by the way.
Yeah, I think we may have skipped CJ.
We may have.
Ed went gaga for what might be the first noteworthy video game remake, to the point of telling readers to ditch those old 8-bit versions for this one.
Ninja
Got to be Mario All-Stars, right?
Mario All-Stars,
that's
definitely.
what it is,
yeah.
I think we should have said Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Would you love it if Ed had given that a 10? That'd be amazing.
I almost have taken him out for a nice dinner.
Mm-hmm.
At Magnum Steakhouse. All right. EGM oddities for 5. The EGM crew got into a row with the first-time devs of this 3DO fighting game, re-reviewing it in the letters section to nearly the same awful scores they handed out in their initial review.
Oh, I remember this. Was this Way of the Warrior?
Way of the Warrior.
This was right around the time I got hired. And I loved Way of the Warrior.
Of course you did.
Well, there's your first mistake.
I thought it was
hired anyway.
I thought it was good fun. No, I'm
a Jake main.
And they hated it. And they hated it in the letters section too. Like nothing convinced them.
Why did they re-review it? Did they publish a letter from the developer or something? I'm gonna have to look this up.
I think
so.
Huh.
But yeah.
Anyway, it's Way of the
Warrior is correct.
4,700 points.
Boom.
Let's do big games never reviewed for 400. This futuristic racer was one of the most acclaimed PlayStation games early in the system's life, yet it didn't get a review in EGM. I assume that's Wipeout.
That's got to be Wipeout, yeah.
Wipeout XL.
Oh, it's Wipeout XL.
Oh, man. That sucks. That's our first wrong one.
Yeah.
Down to 4,300. We were going to go perfect on the board.
I know.
We were too.
Let's do weird Ed reviews for 4. Ed was the lone reviewer to praise this SNES compilation of a... Wait, is this Ninja Gaiden?
I think it is.
Be. Ed was the lone reviewer to praise this SNES compilation of a classic NES action series, although he couldn't make up his mind on the graphics. Ed noted he wished the visuals had been improved, only to add, the effect of the new graphics will make you drool.
Gotta be
Ninja Gaiden Trilogy.
Yeah, it's probably Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Yep.
And it is.
It was not a good game.
4,700 points.
All right. Let's do early 10s for 5. This rare Great Jaguar game saw Ed getting nostalgic for his glory days in the arcades, with him adding, what really makes this game perfect is that it is new.
Oh, Tempest 2000?
Gotta be Tempest 2000.
Were there any other good Jaguar games?
No. Tempest 2000.
There it is.
I can confidently say that there were no other good
5200. All right, so before I pick this,
Mm-hmm.
I want to guess that it's going to be the answer is going to be Lunar the Silver Star. Major
Okay.
Mike treatment for 500.
Oh, it's got.
I like that you immediately went to games they were reviewed though. No.
Nope.
Oh well. This graphic adventure game put the emphasis on graphic with a gory death scene that was featured in practically every gaming mag. That's Snatcher.
The Snatcher, yeah.
That was close. It was a Sega CD game.
Snatcher. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Lunar as well.
Yeah, because I remember that getting
got a tiny review.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Are we back to me?
Yeah.
Back to you.
Let's do the big game never reviewed for 5. This Genesis beat 'em up sequel wasn't reviewed by the mag, despite the first game in the franchise getting high scores the previous year.
Could that be Streets of Rage 2?
Did they never review Streets of Rage 2?
Holy crap. No.
I'm assuming that's what it is,
It's got to be.
right?
Yeah.
Final Fight.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was no
Final Fight 2 on the Genesis.
It was just the Sega CD one.
Yep. I'd say that's got to be it.
Yeah, it's got to be Streets of Rage 2. And it is.
Oh my
Any
God.
wonder why I was reading Die Hard
Uh,
as a Sega fan?
well,
They
clearly
did not feel the need to
Rage
Rage Streets
2.
of Rage 2.
That game only existed because it was so popular in America.
Yeah.
it's true. All right, let's do weird Ed reviews for 5. Ed was kind to this Jaguar fighting game that is part of an iconic NES franchise, saying it was worth getting if you own a Jaguar. The one complaint, having to use the Jag controller's number keys. The Jag needs a different type of controller for fighting games, he bemoaned.
Double Dragon 5.
Gotta be
That's
Double
right.
Dragon 5. Yeah. Double Dragon 5.
Look at that.
Boom.
6,700 points at the end.
Double Dragon V. Bimmy's Revenge.
Is it The Shadow Falls?
Yes, the Shadow
Is it-
Falls or the Shadow
is it the actual
Warriors, one or the
subtitle?
other.
We only got one wrong.
Yep.
Only one wrong.
6,700.
And even that, we knew the game. We
Right.
just
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We
forgot
we
the
were
Excel.
just off by one game.
Yeah,
Ugh.
indeed.
But we did it.
That was fun.
Congratulations to us.
Good job, lads.
Well, I want to thank hacker alias Keenad for sending us this excellent EGM Jeopardy quiz. It's a lot of
Absolutely.
fun. Reliving some of our magazine reading and magazine writing days in the process.
Mhm.
Yes, indeed. And I want to thank all of you listeners out there in Radioland for supporting the show. And if you, dear listeners, have an idea for a game we can play on the after show, just email that on over to player1podcast@gmail.com. You can construct a Jeopardy game at jeopardylabs.com, just like Keenad did, and send us the URL and we can play it on the show. It's just that easy.
He ain't lying.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope your family, friends, loved ones are safe and well. And we will talk at you again next week.
Bye
Yes,
bye.
indeed. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.